Recordings on. And then we were live on Twitter Spaces. This is going to be super, super fun, guys. So today, welcome the audience and welcome all the panelists for joining. Before we get started, I am Albert, CEO of Bitcoin Startup Lab. Welcome to the Bitcoin Olympics Hackathon. This is a Bitcoin ecosystem-wide hackathon where multiple Bitcoin communities, protocols, and champions have come together to support, reward, and celebrate the innovative spirit of founders and builders on Bitcoin to create valuable use cases for a sustainable Bitcoin economy. Our show is brought to you by the Bitcoin Startup Lab. We're a top pre-accelerator in the Bitcoin space, helping people turn their ideas into investment-worthy Bitcoin startups. And a big shout out to our media partners, BTC Inc., parent company of Bitcoin Magazine, the top media on Bitcoin, and Crypto Slate, a crypto-agnostic media platform that brings the latest happenings on Bitcoin to the rest of the crypto world. And of course, a big thank you to our teams, our audience, our guest speakers that have come together to make the Bitcoin Olympic Hackathon possible and accelerate the advent of the Bitcoin economy. So with that said, let's jump in and let's go around the room. Let's go around the room and can everyone introduce yourselves briefly and what your platform does? Maybe if you guys could shorten it to under 1 minute, that'd be perfect to stay on time. How about William? We'll go William, Dylan, Chris, and then Alejandro.
Sounds good. Hey, everyone. So I do have a very annoying feedback loop.
Oh, okay. So the way you get rid of the echo is you put your Twitter space on mute, and then you won't have the you can turn off the volume on that. Yeah. So while you do that, why don't we jump to Dylan and then we'll come back to you. How's that?
Hey, everybody. I'm Dylan, the CEO of Bitflow Labs. We are building a DEX for Bitcoiners. We're seeing a lot more liquidity come to Bitcoin and Bitcoin layers. And the problem is right now that liquidity is fractured. So we're building a DEX where you can go from any token to another token defined on Bitcoin and Bitcoin layers.
Okay, and if I understand you correctly, you're starting from Bitcoin L1, and are you starting with like stablecoin swaps to kick things off?
Yep. So centering most of the liquidity around Bitcoin and different flavors of Bitcoin on L2s. So a mixture of L1 and L2 tech there, and then also starting off centering liquidity around stablecoins because these are the assets that most people in the space use to measure their wealth, and you can use to earn like a sustainable, steady yield.
Yeah, and it's one of the pillars of DeFi. Excellent. Welcome, Dylan. And next up, we have Chris.
Hi, everyone. My name's Chris. I lead business development at Interlay. Interlay started off in infrastructure, basically enabling the movement of Bitcoin without the use of centralized bridges and things like that into DeFi. And then on top of that, given where we were, we also made a Bitcoin-focused DeFi hub. So trade, lend, borrow against your Bitcoin, keep it decentralized, earn yield, etc. That's more or less it.
Yeah, and I was talking to welcome, Chris. I was talking to Alexi, and it seems like you guys did like the first decentralized peg in, peg out bridge, right? For Bitcoin. Is that correct?
Yeah. So yeah, fully decentralized. There are examples where you can use a number of signatories that are determined by the bridge operator. Ours is the first where we have no control over who can secure the bridge and who puts up the collateral or anything like that. And you taking your Bitcoin back from the bridge, we don't control that either. It's all fully decentralized.
Super, super. Really excited to hear more about that coming up. Welcome, Chris from Interlay.
Thank you.
Alejandro from Rootstock.
Hey. Glad to be here. I'm the head of integrations and support at IOV Labs. IOV Labs is one of the main contributors of Rootstock. And Rootstock is a Bitcoin sidechain. We are talking about DeFi, so we think that Rootstock is like the perfect platform for DeFi and everyday DeFi. That is the like the sub theme that we are looking for, like everyday things like lending, borrowing, protection to inflation, and remittances, that those use cases. So yeah, glad to be here, and nice to meet you guys.
Welcome, Alejandro from Rootstock. And if I understand correctly, Rootstock right now boasts the largest DeFi protocol on Bitcoin with I think it's Sovereign. They boast what, over 50 million
Yeah.
TVL locked. So that's quite an achievement.
Yeah, yeah. The Sovereign is quite important. Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. So really excited to hear what kind of ideas could come out of that on Rootstock in addition to Sovereign. So last but not least, William, we're back on you. Hopefully you don't have the echo anymore. Hi, William from Botanics. You want to do a quick intro to
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Is it better?
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave the Twitter Spaces for the moment, so the echo is gone. But yeah, so nice to meet you all. Actually, very humbled to be in this presence of this this great group. I think all these projects are insanely good. I'm happy to be building on Bitcoin as well. So nice to meet you all. I'm Willem, founder of Botanics Labs. So at Botanics, basically, we realized the strength of Bitcoin as being the money in the world, but at the same time, we saw Ethereum as being a software layer where a lot of people build applications on top of it. So what we're basically doing is forking Ethereum and putting it literally on Bitcoin, and so we're a layer 2 EVM on Bitcoin, also meaning that all the applications we typically have on Ethereum are going to be possible on Botanics.
Wow, that's also very amazing. So we have a panel of experts here. So I'm very excited about the prospect of, I mean, as we all know, I hope most of you know, but if you're just joining Bitcoin for the first time, we're basically on like ground zero for Bitcoin DeFi right now, right? We had this big renaissance with a lot more users coming to Bitcoin because of ordinals. And then we had this BRC20 invention, right? That got even more speculators looking at Bitcoin. But I think the real prize is or one of the real prizes is really, can we really build this decentralized DeFi ecosystem on Bitcoin, right? It's like, there's the same logical truth. Like right now, we know the same JPEG inscribed on Bitcoin is worth a lot more, right? Is the same DeFi or a variation of it, can we make it bigger and better on Bitcoin, right? So before we jump into what each of your platforms are best used for in this DeFi ecosystem, let's talk about the market timing, right? There's a lot of talk around, hey, it's not ready yet, or it might be ready yet, or maybe it's like it's ready for some things, but then other things are not ready yet, right? Like what are your takes on the market timing right now, like on Bitcoin DeFi in general, right? How do you guys you guys must of course you guys are all bullish on it, but what's can you walk me through the process? I'd like to hear from all four of you guys. Who wants to go first? What are like some of the indicators that you've seen that other people that you could point out, right? Like scientifically, this is why I think Bitcoin DeFi is about to pop or become a very big player in the crypto world.
Yeah, happy to go first here.
Let's go.
So absolutely, I think the timing cannot be even better than where we are right now. I think the whole world is set for Bitcoin DeFi, and the reasons are very clear for everyone to see. I think DeFi has shown itself over the last 3 years. Previous bull run, DeFi showed it as a big market. Now, DeFi has mostly been active on Ethereum, and there's one bigger market than Ethereum, and that's Bitcoin. And so obviously the next one that's going to be broken through, and I think the next bull run will totally see that is going to be on top of Bitcoin. And it's very interesting because there's this paradox where we see Wall Street being very into Bitcoin, but then on the other hand, the rest of the world in terms of applications and retail, the DeFi world is more currently built on Ethereum, but that's just an infrastructure problem. And when I hear around to stable, like that infrastructure problem is going to be solved before the next bull run. So I think we're fully set. The infrastructure is there and the money is there.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point. By the way, for those listening in the crowd, that was William, the CEO and co-founder of Botanix. They're building a new protocol on Bitcoin that basically uses Bitcoin as settlement layer, but transfers a bunch of Ethereum capability on top of Bitcoin in a nutshell. So I would agree with that, right? Because right now there's like I guess maximum 5% wrap Bitcoin right now in the market, but it's been stagnating at that for a very long time. What about the other 95%? Because people don't want to use those other solutions on other chains, right? So this is like William said, there's like a gigantic dam of like value stored there, and we just have to unlock it, right? And then many people on this panel are giving us the capabilities to unlock that with their technology, right? So let's stay tuned. We're not going to jump into that segment yet, but we're about to find out exactly what types of Bitcoin DeFi you guys can unlock in a second, right? But let's stick with the market timing. Who wants to go next on the market timing? Like, what are some other indicators? Like, because of these indicators, this is why I think, like, scientifically, that Bitcoin DeFi is ready for like a massive run.
Yeah, I can add on to William's point.
Right, so from intraday, yeah.
Yeah, Chris, I'm back, the English guy. Makes it easier. So yeah, like I think definitely in the recent stuff that's been going on with BRC20s and like the ordinals, there's a lot of hype that can be used, and the one big main advantage that I think is the one that kind of has a lot of backing for the traction behind it is Bitcoin is and has always been the most secure network. Like that in itself is the biggest selling point. Like in comparison to any blockchain you can build on, like that's a big thing, but it doesn't mean that that's going to get adoption quickly. I think we also have to be pretty realistic about one. Obviously, we work in infrastructure of like moving Bitcoin and stuff, so we understand the kind of big things that need to happen for that to actually work properly. Two, we're behind the game in terms of Ethereum, like in terms of usability, in terms of the new things that have been built on Ethereum with account abstractions and stuff like that. That makes a big difference for scalability and things like that. And then three, also the optics of how Bitcoin is seen need to change drastically. Like that, it's seen as a store of value. If you watch podcasts of Ethereum versus Bitcoin, are completely different. Like what one's talking about all the things you can do and all these new projects and whatever, and one's talking about philosophy and stuff, which are both very interesting and both very valid. But to get to that stage and to get the kind of the flywheel turning, I think those three things we need to be aware of them, and we need to think actively on how to change them.
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, this is basically, look, like you said, like Ethereum is like on level 100, Bitcoin is like on level 1, right? And I think it's sort of like in some cases, I'm not saying all cases, but in some cases, Ethereum was almost like a big test net on what worked and what didn't work, right? And so there's definitely more ideas than builders on Bitcoin right now. That's the blue ocean opportunity. So that's a very good take on it. Thanks. That was Chris from Interlay. Alejandro, Dylan, what's your take on the market timing?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's always, I don't know if it is the perfect time or not. What I can tell is about my own experience. I mean, you guys are probably from the US or England, or as you mentioned, I'm from Argentina. So I'm like I'm living other reality. I would say, yeah, I could say Argentina, Latin America in general. So I think we see more clearly why we need this, why we need DeFi, why we need stable coins, why we need, I mean, things that you guys have more or less solved in your countries because things like work normally or as they should work. And you are seeing like some other things like more philosophical or more about financial freedom, other things that are cool, but you don't have the rush to have this. Anyway, I don't think that we will have that the next bull run, like I know it's happening soonish. Obviously, it doesn't look like the best time yet, or that we are ready, but we definitely need to keep building and try to be as ready as possible, because it will become massive eventually, and we need to be ready for that. So I don't know if we are ready. I don't know if this is the time, but we need to keep building. And yeah, that's my 2 cents about this.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. Like, although the bull run is not here yet, right? In terms of that, the timing is not here. But in terms of, you make a very great point. In terms of being a founder or entrepreneur or an innovator, now is the perfect time to build, right? When everyone else is like sort of like, I'm not going to build. This is the best time to build. This is the best time to market. Like the same marketing money, same marketing efforts, you'll gain a lot more ground because there's less noise in the market, right? And also, the people that build a foundation now, when the bull run comes, guess where all the money's going? For the investors. It's for the people who are hard at work when other people didn't want to work, right? That's just the reality of economic cycles. So that's a really great point. And also, you also like you're sort of I can see this foreshadowing what you're doing here. There are like a lot of like extreme use cases that will become very obvious. Like for example, in countries like Argentina. Like maybe it might not be so obvious, like as a American who probably doesn't have to worry about hyperinflation or stuff like that, right? So that's also a very good point. I think Bitcoin DeFi is well overdue in many parts of the world. Thanks for bringing that up. Excellent. And last but not least, oh, by the way, everyone, that was Alejandro representing IOV Labs and Rootstock. And last but not least, on the timing question, Dylan from BitFlow is also one of our top teams, right? That graduated our program last year. You're building the DEX on L1 right now, right? Starting with stable coins. What do you have to say about the timing for Bitcoin DeFi?
Yeah, amazing program, by the way. Really took me just like from 0 to 1. Recommend it to anybody that wants to build in the space. No BS, super life-changing for me. I loved it. But on the timing question, I feel like I'm seeing like more builders, more developers, users, liquidity, investors, like all the above. I think this has been a really exciting year for Bitcoin, certainly relative to like maybe the 5 previous years, right? And a lot of that's due to ordinals, right? I think we kind of see like the crypto casino coming back to Bitcoin in a way, and and I think hopefully people stay for the properties that make Bitcoin so special, make it sound money. But I also saw something like this past week that people were saying that ordinals are dead, but they're still making up, like I think just a couple of days ago, 85% of the network activity on Bitcoin. So to me, that says that even in supposedly a bear market, people are really embracing this new technology and building and using it. So I think that's exciting. I do think we're missing like some key infrastructure still. And I think at least what we're trying to do is play our role in making it connecting liquidity across the whole Bitcoin ecosystem. And there are a number of infrastructure plays that we need to build out in order to be ready for the halving.
No, I think those are all great points. I mean, going back to fundamentals, there's just more users, there's more liquidity, right? There's more capital in the Bitcoin space. And as Dylan pointed out, like what 85%, that was 85% like from ordinals, 85% that was not there like 7 months ago, right? And even like in a bear market, it's 85%. So this is things like this and DeFi are things that are going to increase the demand, right? For the network space. And what better timing than now before the Bitcoin halving, right? When the miners are going to lose half of their profits, right, from the emissions, and so this is like there's like it's like the perfect cycle, right? The perfect cycle where more use cases means it keeps everyone in business. So with that said, let's and a good point about some of the infrastructure is not there, but that's the opportunity. Right? Everyone here is building infrastructure or is somewhat related to building infrastructure and making this DeFi ecosystem on Bitcoin possible, right? So let's get into the fun part, because in the end, we're encouraging, we're inviting more builders to build with us, right? No matter what technology you use, depending on what floats your boat, you're gonna pick the technology that you resonate most with, right? If you're building on DeFi, let's hear what these amazing panelists have to say. Everyone is an expert or a domain expert in their own right? So, but before we go on with that, remember, click on our BTC Startup Lab icon, go and sign up to Hackathon. We have over $100,000 in prizes. Roofstock, Interlay have both put up a large amount of prizes. In addition, even if you build with another technology, or if you build with Interlay or with Roofstock, we have a $50,000 Bitcoin tech agnostic prize pool. Okay, so even if you don't get captured in one of these, you're still okay. And of course, if you build with one of the tech prize sponsors, if you're one of the top teams, you get to go to the final round for agnostic prizes too. So you're also benefiting from that. So that in itself is $50,000. There's like two $5,000 prizes, one $10,000 prize, and one $30,000 prize. So if you know what you're doing, this money could definitely take you from ideation to an investment-worthy startup for your pre-seed round. Okay, so it could be a game changer for some people, in addition to the big prizes that other technology stacks have put up. So sign up, again, Discord. You also get a copy of this video and a bunch of developer tools, right? Links, documentation, help to build with these technologies, right? So with that said, let's talk about what these technologies can enable on the topic of Bitcoin DeFi. Right, you guys all saw a market opportunity and probably a market problem, right? This is why you guys have, I'm sure everyone had a chance to do something in Ethereum, right? But you guys weighed your options and said, hey, I'm going to be a front runner and I want to do something in Bitcoin and enable a bunch of stuff. And let's like, I know your platforms will enable a lot more than just Bitcoin DeFi, but for today's topic, let's talk about like, what are some of the Bitcoin unicorn companies that you think your platform is best to sustain, right? And that should be built now or very soon, and why? Who wants to start first on this? And we could have more than one chance, right? Like let's make this like a free flow. You might have like an idea, right? Give another person another chance, and we'll come back around. We have plenty of time. I mean, this goes until 2:15 my time. We still have 45 minutes. We have another half hour. So, if we could go around the room, get more than one chance, right? So let's do one big idea and why your platform, your technology is well positioned to support the existence of that type of Bitcoin unicorn DeFi idea. Okay, one, and then we'll move on and we'll keep going around. Wonderful. Who wants to take a crack at it first? This is the time to be selfish. Let's see what's going on.
Okay, I'll be selfish.
Right.
So I think something that's missing is, it's pretty simple. The ability to earn a Bitcoin yield on your Bitcoin holdings, right? How do you do that in a safe and sustainable way? It's hard, right? But the approach that we're taking is allowing users to swap between different flavors of Bitcoin on layer 2, right? And bridging communities together like Stacks and Rootstock, potentially even Interlay. And, so you can trade between RBTC and XBTC and SBTC, and you can have a yield that's paid out where you can do an atomic swap to native Bitcoin whenever you're ready, or do a peg out to native Bitcoin whenever you're ready. And it allows you to have like this auto compounding Bitcoin yield based on like real trading, right? Very, very similar stable swap model to Curve. And I'm also, I guess I should also give a shout out to like the wallets, the Bitcoin wallets like Xverse and Hero, because I think they play a big role in that too. They definitely make it a lot easier for us to integrate, for people to use Bitcoin inside of tech like this, right? But I think that's a big one that's missing: a Bitcoin yield on your Bitcoin holdings in a way that's built to last as long as Bitcoin.
And then what are some Bitcoin unicorn companies that could result from using your technology or building them? Like, once we have stable coins, right? Let's just start with that one. And this connectivity, what do you think is around the corner? What is that going to enable?
when you have these deep liquidity pools around different flavors of Bitcoin, I think they're like basically anything that's been built on top of Curve and proven out over there, you could also build in the Bitcoin ecosystem, right? So there's a number of protocols. I would encourage anybody that's interested in the hackathon to go take a look at those, right? But the interesting part with the real yield design is that whatever you build on top of a Bitflow or a stable swap like that, right? You can generate a Bitcoin yield from that versus like what you might be generating in the Ethereum ecosystem. So
That's very compelling. Thank you for that. Excellent. Who wants to go next? Who wants to go next? Thanks for joining us, Robin. Just so the people in the spaces know, Robin, CEO and co-founder of Liquidium, the first ordinals lending borrowing protocol. Founder is here in the house. Thanks for joining us. We have a room full of pioneers here. So who wants to go next? What?
I can go.
Them?
I can go.
Oh, Alejandro. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as I mentioned, we are focused on these use cases like remittances, lending, borrowing, stable coins, and inflation protection to inflation. So that's what we want to foster. Given that Rootstock is EVM compatible and technologically speaking, everything that is running on Ethereum or any other, Polygon, Binance Smart Chain, potentially could run on Rootstock and be aligned with the Bitcoin ecosystem. So what I want to say that from IOV Labs, the company I work for, we think that these are the things that we try to push for, but we want to give the chance to a lot of entrepreneurs and people with great ideas to build and bring their own ideas to life. So besides this hackathon, we are running a grant program this year. We are giving $2.5 million in grants. So basically, we want people to come and build on Rootstock and try to get these things live or other like cool stuff that maybe we haven't thought about. The other approach that we are taking is co-creation, like trying to put our knowledge and our infrastructure, everything we have, to build side by side with a partner, and like try to get these new things that are needed to life. That's the idea. So I don't know if we have. I don't have the idea of myself of the next unicorn or the next killing application, but I think it's out there. So we need to somehow help them to build them, right?
Yeah, I think you mentioned a few categories where unicorns come out of, and I think one of the big advantage of IOV Labs and Rootstock is that you guys do understand developing nations better than say like American team, right? So especially around like remittance or it's basically talking about like there's a bigger need for people in those societies for a decentralized banking system, right? Like to have security on their money. And then I think in this way, if people are looking to attack or go for markets and create that solution for emerging markets, I think your team has special insights, right? And that's something that is sorely needed. Excellent. Thanks for sharing that. And these are like all these markets, right, are fairly large. Even if you target one country, it's already like a massive business, right? But there's like so many that would need something like this. Thanks for sharing, Alejandro. Next up, I think it was William and then Chris, right? And then Robin, we're going to get to you. Thanks for joining us, by the way. William.
Thanks for having
Awesome. Great to hear your thoughts, Dylan and Alejandro. It was really good. So Willem here, back again from Botanics. Actually, very interesting, Dylan. I wanted to pick up where you left off a little bit on ways to earn yield on your Bitcoin, because how Botanics is actually bringing Ethereum on as a layer 2 on top of Bitcoin is actually by a proof of stake. So we stake Bitcoin on Bitcoin, and that secures the EVM. So actually, you will be able to earn trustless yield on top of your Bitcoin, basically with Botanics. But to answer Albert's question, I think one thing I'm extremely excited about is more like a MakerDAO on top of Bitcoin. So for the people familiar with Maker, they have basically the stablecoin DAI that's partly backed by Bitcoin. And so our algorithmic backing by Bitcoin is something I think is very interesting to basically protect a stablecoin. So you have a decentralized algorithmic backing of a stablecoin. I think everyone sees the need for a stablecoin on Bitcoin. I think that's just a massive market that's waiting to be there. And as Alejandro said, like especially in the rest of the world, in countries like Argentina that have been facing a lot with hyperinflation, stablecoin is just it's life saving. And we need a big stablecoin on Bitcoin. And I think a MakerDAO, they now have their DAI stablecoin protected by wrapped Bitcoin on Ethereum. I think that's very centralized. I think that's not safe or not a long-term solution, but basically take the model of MakerDAO, implement it on an EVM on Bitcoin, and you have a decentralized fully algorithmic stablecoin for everyone available.
No, that's very insightful. A maker DAO on Bitcoin, right? So let me ask you a question. What is how is Botanics positioned? Like, can you tell us a little bit about how your technology can enable this? I mean, I think that's what I'm reading between lines, right? So correct me if I'm wrong, but
yeah,
like, how's Botanics positioned? Like how did you design the architecture to make this potentially one of the first unicorn use cases on your platform?
Yeah. So we have a very heavy team of people in background in building on Bitcoin and cryptography. Myself, a cryptography background, and then parts of the team are the main engineers of Liquid, and very heavy Bitcoin tech people. And basically, we started off realizing, okay, you can build a proof of stake on top of Bitcoin where you use Bitcoin as a native currency. So you stake Bitcoin on Bitcoin, and that you can use to secure anything. And then what we did is we literally took Ethereum, the Ethereum full source code, forked it, and instead of using Ethereum there, you use Bitcoin. So it's exactly the same code, but it's just built on top of Bitcoin. And so you connect that with a bigger multisig on Bitcoin. And so your whole EVM on Bitcoin feels like Ethereum, but you actually see Bitcoin, which is very interesting. It's quite creepy actually, because for everyone who's familiar with using all Ethereum stuff, they used to pay gas fees in Ethereum, you also all their things, and everything will look the same except you see Bitcoin, which I think is very interesting.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So MakerDAO in terms of application will be a plug and play on top of Botanics.
That is really going to be cool. So, okay, before we jump to Chris at Interlay, it almost sounds like you could clone MakerDAO on Botanics. Is it like a clone, or how much customization do we have to? How much time would it take or manpower would it take to take it from Ethereum and then put it on Botanics?
That's super interesting because it's actually zero. Because nowhere in Ethereum really...
So you could transfer over a unicorn company over to Botanics with zero customization. That's insane.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Ethereum is it never says what Ethereum is. It's just digits, right? And so you can interpret that a different way. So right now it's looking like you need to do exactly zero things to your applications. So you basically have the technology of a unicorn. Now, of course, there's way more that comes into a unicorn. You need like the whole ecosystem and its network effects. You need to restart, of course. But in terms of technology, that should be a plug and play, correct?
Wow. Wow. That's exciting. What are you launching live?
Yeah, we're still not active on Twitter. We've been building. Our testnet should be out next month.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to that. Thanks for sharing what's around the corner. By the way, guys, that was William from Botanics, the CEO and co-founder. Let's go to Chris Russell. Chris, give us a unicorn idea, like the top one you think that would be like perfect for Interlay.
Yeah, so firstly, yeah, definitely agree. Centralized Bitcoin and DeFi is an issue. Last time I checked, there was about 10 billion amount just floating around. And that's by going into DeFi, you're kind of giving up one of the doctrines of Bitcoin itself, which is
Yeah, it's not really
decentralization. And I think like what we're all kind of agreeing on to a point is that there's this massive adoption here, and there's massive loads of innovation and stuff going on over here. And there's not, these two worlds haven't been connected. The way in which they are connected is through these centralized bridges, which is completely suboptimal. And it also probably owns back to your point of like there's 95% just sitting around and 5% getting used. So what we kind of like centered Interlay on back a couple of years ago was the decentralized bridges itself, like allowing someone to move Bitcoin into this area and use it in DeFi. And it works in a similar fashion to the MakerDAO policy of vaults. Anyone can start up a vault to collateralized debt position, and then anyone can then take away their Bitcoin whenever they want and mint IBTC and use it with anywhere if they want to go into Dylan's area and make money off the stable pools. They can go in and out with ease. So that was one of the main things that Interlay was formed on, and then we kind of formed all these other areas based off that.
Well, that's a really great one. Easily making these vaults accessible. Super. Thank you for that. Again, guys, that was Interlay, Chris from Interlay. And let you guys know we have enough time to go around one more time. So think about the second thing that could be built on top of your protocol. Okay. But before we start again with Alejandro or Dylan, Robin, you wanna quickly introduce yourself? And we're talking about the topic of Bitcoin DeFi unicorns, right? What do you think should be built? Or what would you like to think? What would you like to see be built? That would probably go hand in hand with what you're building there at Liquidium.
Hey, yeah, Jim, I'm Robin, the CEO and co-founder of Liquidium. As you said, like we're building the first ordinal lending protocol where you can collateralize your ordinals to borrow Bitcoin against it. So essentially, like bringing NFTFi to layer 1 Bitcoin to ordinals. And yeah, I think like what's interesting or like what could be built, I think is definitely like, especially in ordinals, we see that like so much infrastructure that we have on Ethereum and other platforms, we don't have them yet on ordinals. And I think this is kind of like definitely a huge opportunity to just take something that exists on another chain, bring it over to Bitcoin, improve it slightly, and then you kind of have the same thing with like more value because it's on Bitcoin, and you made like slight improvements to it by like just talking to the users of this existing protocol and yeah, finding out what they don't like about the platform, for example, and then just like improving it. I think it's as easy as that to just get started. And in terms of a unicorn company, like obviously that's hard. That's always like I think a huge challenge to really create something that is unicorn. But yeah, I think, for example, if you manage to like create a huge impact in the Bitcoin space by, for example, creating something like even something like BlockFi or Celsius. I know we don't want that stuff anymore because it's centralized and getting rugged and everything. And I think what Dylan is building is kind of getting close to it. But yeah, things like this where you essentially just like put in Bitcoin, you gain a yield, and you know your funds are safe and it's decentralized. I think that could be a huge impact. And yeah, just stuff like that. I think yeah, building out the infrastructure that is not there yet on Bitcoin, because now you have the opportunity, and now is basically where the demand is there.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it too, Robin. It's sort of like you go to Ethereum, like, again, going with this concept that Ethereum is sort of like a test net for Bitcoin, and then thinking about, hey, you know, like obviously all that stuff on Ethereum didn't appear overnight. There's a progression, right? So if you could look back into history and all right, what had to happen on DeFi first, like the primitives, right, in order for the more advanced DeFi to occur. So that's definitely a valid way to look at it. I mean, that's sort of like what you guys did with Equidium, right? You saw that, hey, using NFTs as collateral was a viable business, right? It's like a proven business model. But you said, hey, why don't we do this with ordinals, right? And I'm proud to say that you guys are the first ones to do this on ordinals in Bitcoin, and you guys are also a graduate of the Bitcoin Startup Lab. So guys, join again. Shout out. Join the Olympics first as a lighter version of the Bitcoin Startup Lab. You're going to meet a lot of like-minded people. You know, click on our icon here, go to our Twitter, sign up, go to Discord, and you get a copy of this of all these great ideas. And you'll meet a lot of like-minded people, and you're going to help build the future of DeFi on Bitcoin. All right. So with that said, let's go back around. We could go around one more time, and then let's open up the floor for some questions. How's that? I could tell that some people here are going to ask questions from the crowd. How's that? Let's go around one more time. You know, what do you guys think? The second best idea you could think about that could be built on your platform, right? Alejandro, Dylan, you guys want to kick it off, or you know, we could. Robin wants to kick it off again. All right, Robin, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I have one more thing that I wanted to share is like you don't even have to like copy stuff from Ethereum or something, but you can really look at real world stuff like what is being done in Web 2 and bring this over to Web 3. I think these are most of the times things that really make a huge impact, and also something that we want on Bitcoin for sure. And this, trust me, this will be a unicorn company if you do it right. Stable coins on Bitcoin. And yeah, I think not only like because you could use stable coins as currency on Liquidium for lending, but actually because like all of the institutional investors want stable coins, and the stable coin on Bitcoin would bring in huge amount of institutional demand, I think. So yeah, this really would be something that is needed in the space. And yeah, just wanted to add like, yeah, no, that's I think that's already a big one. So I'm gonna leave the rest.
Some of you hackathon contestants are just heard that. Would love to see a stable coin or a few, right? Try it out. It's a blue ocean right now. Thanks for that idea, Robin. Excellent. Who else wants to go round two? Time to be selfish. Like, I think this unicorn DeFi can be built on my project the best, basically. And this is why.
You're going to have to race us to do it because we're going to try. But, you know, I think something really interesting is bringing the risk-free rate on chain into the Bitcoin ecosystem. So trying to bring short-term treasury bonds and creating like a Bitcoin market for them.
Yeah, that's a big one too. Thank you for that. Another great idea.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we can mention a lot of, I think I agree, all the ideas that were mentioned are great, and we need more of that. But I think something that is very important and we need to foster is like the user experience. We need to make these applications or these new tools that we are trying to provide like really easy to use for regular people. Yeah, we definitely know how to set a MetaMask and how to use. Yeah, we know, but probably not probably for sure, billion of people, they don't know how to do it.
Yeah,
So
it's a pain in the ass.
the next step is combining, I guess, well, one of many next steps, but one of them is definitely like combining all these great things with an excellent user experience and yeah, and trying to get, I mean, without compromising security and decentralization, how to make that easier and intuitive. I know it's hard. We are in early stages yet, but I think that's what we need to try to have. I mean, all these great things, but with a better user experience. And also, yeah, you mentioned ordinals, NFTs. I think that's also great to get awareness, to bring people to our platforms. I mean, yeah, obviously, I want to bring people to Rootstock, but we are all here in the same page. We all want to. We are trying to get more or less the same. We are trying to align with Bitcoin, what's going on.
Yeah, we need to work together to create a sustainable Bitcoin economy. That's the truth, right? Like this is such a. I mean, I looked up some historical research when Ethereum had under like 200 or 100 dApps, whatever Bitcoin is right now. I don't think we could find 200 dApps. Like maybe like around 100, right? But when Ethereum was like that, I think Ethereum price was what, like $30 to $50, right? And then now it's got like over 10,000 dApps. Is what was like 1,700, 1,800. Like this is literally like 20, 40, 50x depending on like where you take the starting point. Bitcoin with less than 100 dApps is already over $500 billion. And imagine when it has 1,000 dApps. That's going to definitely put it into tens of trillions, and when it's at tens of thousands, it's like hundreds of trillions. Like that's going to become like a proper economy, right? And so this is definitely like a ecosystem-wide, very collaborative thing that we can do. Right? The pie is definitely big enough for us to coexist. This is an exciting thing. Yeah, good point, Alejandro. Did you have anything to add to that, Alejandro?
No. I think that we everything. I mean, I just while you were talking, I remember the CryptoKitties in Ethereum. Something that like yeah, it's like out of the blue they brought a lot of transactions, a lot of awareness. It stressed the network as well, but I'm not saying that this is CryptoKitties. No, I think this is like it has real value. But yeah, everything that is trendy could work to bring awareness, to engage people. Yeah, and they can enter because of that, and then stay because of everything else that we are building that is like also super interesting. Yeah, that.
And I like your original point about having a better user experience. This is a shout out to all of you who are doing like UX and Web 2 or somewhere else. Like, come join the hackathon, or even if you don't join the hackathon, come join the Bitcoin space. There's like so much to do. There's just so much to do, and it's sort of like an ecosystem-wide problem, right? The user experience. So, plenty of work to do. Come on, come on. Excellent. Thank you, Alejandro. How about we go to Chris and William before we jump to questions?
Yeah, I can jump in. So yeah, to add on to Alejandro's point, yeah, definitely the usability stuff is 100% key, and I think like we can take a lot of learnings from Ethereum on that aspect. But we're in a position where there's like a huge opportunity, and the thing that I don't want to do is just bring in stuff from Ethereum and see what they're doing and then make other things, and then like there's a benefit to that, but I think we have an opportunity to really dive into the things that Bitcoin itself has at its core, and the people who are affected by that, with the halving and miners and particular stakeholders that could actually set us apart and do something completely different that Ethereum is not even capable of doing. I think like focusing on that and focusing on the stakeholders in the area and the capabilities of Bitcoin, and enabling as many builders as possible, like building as many languages as possible, do as many hackathons as possible. Like that's what we're trying to focus on now. That's why we're enabling Rust smart contracts and things on top of that, and trying to use the network that we have to make specialized things that no one on Ethereum could do because they're not working with Bitcoin. And that's the narrative that I care about. And I don't want to become another chain that does stuff 2 months after Ethereum. I want to do stuff that they can't do. So I think that's what makes me passionate about Bitcoin and the abilities that we have in the next 6 months. So I think that's, for me, that's key.
No, that's a really interesting topic. You know, like basically like the unique superpower of Bitcoin. Can you elaborate on that? Like, what are some of the top things that you've seen Bitcoin can do, but is very hard, or just second class on Ethereum or another chain? What are some of those things? Can you share a little bit more? This is very insightful. Have a bunch of ideas, a bunch of unicorn DeFi ideas.
Yeah. So yeah, there's obviously the benefits with things in terms. One absolutely massive one, like what Robert was saying about institutions and the interest in that area, is the thing that an institution cares more about anything is if they either invest in a project or make a coin or whatever, a project, that project's going to stay around for the longest time possible. Having Bitcoin as a base layer is one of the best arguments for that. On top of that, SEC regulations and things on top of that, you probably have the best argument in Bitcoin compared to any other chain. Those are two massive things. And on other areas, there are things, because it's proof of stake, you have miners, and there's specific areas in which people have big problems where they don't have these problems elsewhere. It's about focusing on those things which are completely particular to that, and having a kind of big market share on being the best in that area, and then using those benefits that come from that to do better things than other chains in other areas. But it's focusing on the things that are most key to our area and applicable, and then thinking about these other things. But in no way am I taking away from the fact that like we do need a lot of other things that are missing that are on other blockchains. But I think the key to actual adoption and like the actual kind of unicorns being formed is focusing on those things, in my opinion.
That's a really good point. I mean, especially when we're talking about finance, right? I mean, finance implies that you need a certain level of security, right? Otherwise, why would, like, what security in terms of like the technology, which you're talking about, and then number two, security in terms of, hey, is it on the side of regulation, right? So those are two massive ones. Yeah, and I think it's pretty safe to say right now Bitcoin is king in both categories. Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Chris. Again, that was Chris from Interlay. How about William? Do you have anything to add before we jump into the Q&A? And this is a cue for everyone in the audience to start raising your hands. Okay, so let's you guys have like Rafa, we have like Metapanda here, Paul, etc. If you guys have some questions, like go ahead and raise your hands. We're about to jump into the Q&A section after William, CEO Botonics, shares the last idea here.
Yeah, I also wanted to come back to what you earlier said, Albert, that there's not that many protocols yet on Bitcoin. So I totally believe that will be blowing up over the next year and a half. And I do believe that a rising tide lifts all boats. So I think the more people are active here and the more people are active in any protocol on Bitcoin, the bigger that ecosystem becomes. And it actually ties into what I think is a very important point we haven't made yet. I think one of the big things about an DeFi ecosystem is that you don't need just a DeFi protocol. You need a bunch of different things. If you look at Ethereum, you basically need oracles. Ideally, you have a DEX. Ideally, you have a bunch of other different things. And so you need not just one DeFi protocol, you need a lot of active different areas that come together, generate yields here and there, aggregators, liquidity pools, etc., market makers, etc., etc. So you need a lot of different things and puzzles to come together to get a really, really active DeFi ecosystem. But I totally believe that will come over the next year and a half. Now, for Botanics specifically, I think two big things that I hope for people will build on top of Botanics is number one, a Lido. So Lido is a staking pool, basically. So since we will run a proof of stake, having a Lido on top of us makes a lot of sense. That will make our lives easier and people staking easier for them as well. So basically, they can put in money on Lido and they can get the majority of the proof of stake rewards from Lido. So I hope that that will happen on Botanics as well. And then a second one is like a GMX, basically a perps trading protocol. These are two things we've seen take off on Ethereum itself and can exist quite separately, except from all the other different areas. But in general, yeah, very bullish on the whole Bitcoin ecosystem. Like there's a few hundred maybe protocols, but yeah, if this blows up, this is a position where all the 100 basically win.
Yeah, absolutely. Great points on those. Really great assessment of the market too. Thank you, everyone. So again, guys, all these gigabrains, all these pioneers on Bitcoin have come together to share what's coming up next. Today's topic is Bitcoin DeFi. You can start building at the Bitcoin Olympics hackathon. You'll meet other people, like-minded people, very talented people. And by the way, if you build it here, you might also win a prize, right? Interlay has prizes, Rootstock has prizes. In the future, Botanics, right? You guys are gonna get in the mix once you guys launch on testnet next month. Not for this hackathon, but for the future ones, very right around the corner. And we have $50,000 from Soar Ventures as the agnostic Bitcoin prize. So in addition to winning the other prizes, if you're one of the top teams, you go to the final round. So again, it's like 5,000, 10,000, and then the grand prize is 30,000. So it could be a game changer for a lot of people if you know how to use that money. But hey, this is everyone's doing their part to invite, support, and reward people who are building on Bitcoin here. So with that said, let's go into the last round, which is let's do some Q&A. Let's open up the Q&A to the audience. Let's see. All right. So Rafa has a question. Rafa, you're up.
Yeah, thank you, Albert.
Hold on. Can you guys hear? All right, good. All right, perfect. Rafa, go
awesome.
for it.
Yeah, I had actually a quick question, but I just wanted to say that it's awesome. Before my question, it's awesome to see all these chica brains in the same room, and the ability for people to think in terms of composability, and using these different technology just to serve the Bitcoin ethos. My question was addressed to Willem. You're building something that seems really interesting. Can you elaborate a little bit on what do you see in terms of the users? Because the EVM, but Bitcoin, what is your analysis for building what you're building? Is it a need that comes from developers? Is it, you obviously talked about decentralization, but I'm really curious to know a little bit more about your kind of vision that underpins what you're building. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, great to meet you and great question. So the vision is basically what we realized a year ago is you have a lot of competition in a lot of different infrastructure plays in the whole of crypto. And what we basically saw is what we called 3 different technology battles, basically. On the one hand, you have layer 1 battle or the money battle. Basically, there's a lot of different options there. You have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Monero, etc. And each of those has won in some type of market. If you think privacy, then you think Monero. If you think speed, you think Solana. If you think composability, you think Ethereum. But if you think Bitcoin, you think safe, secure, decentralized money, digital gold. And so from first principles, we believe Bitcoin has won that one. And that's exactly in a global macroeconomic perspective. If you want global, secure, decentralized money, that's what Bitcoin is. But then there's a whole different technology battle happening at the same time. And we basically call that the virtual machine battle. Now you have a huge amount of applications and they're built on what you call virtual machines, which in our minds is a different technology battle, more a software battle like you saw with Windows in the 80s. And that's why we went for the EVM. The EVM is like way ahead of anyone else in terms of ecosystem, etc. Like Windows didn't win out because it was the best technology. Windows went out because it had the biggest distribution channels and biggest ecosystem. And so the EVM is like way ahead of that. Now you can take the EVM and strip out the Ethereum. And that's basically what we've done. And so we put out we put the EVM on top of Bitcoin, and we think that's the killer infrastructure of the future. Another way to look at it is Bitcoin gets its value from the bottom up by being most safe, secure, and decentralized, because there's very little value really built on top of it. And Ethereum accrues its value top down. Basically, now you have a huge amount of applications, and they all accrue value back to Ethereum. But that's now how in 100 years' time it's going to look like. And so basically, you bring the two together, where you have the money Bitcoin and the technology for the applications Ethereum, and that's the main reason why we're building this. In our mind, exactly what the world needs. It's applications that are built on top of the money.
That's amazing. Rafa, do you have a follow-up question?
So yeah, actually, a following up question would be, we have all these different technologies. We have users that there's a spectrum, right? We've talked about institutional investors. We talked about retail and Web2 users. This hackathon is awesome because we're able to understand all these technology. What are you guys doing in terms of allowing for composability, and in the end, for builders like us to be able to kind of leverage the best of whatever's out there without being agnostic and serving the ethos of Bitcoin in the end?
Is this
yes.
this question for? Is it also to William, or?
I think it's for everyone in general. Like the fact that we're all converging in this hackathon and thinking in terms of like what's best, regardless of what's the underlying technology. I think it's something that interests me.
Yeah, I could try to take that. I think it's great to see Bitcoin layers working together. I think it's great to see more builders in this space and the ecosystem overall. I think it's not clear like which one is going to win right now, but I'm happy to see more people building. And for us, like the way that we're thinking about composability is like with a real yield design that you could really deploy in any layer 2 ecosystem, right? But for the user, it'll feel like you send a Bitcoin transaction and you're swapping for a stable coin, right? Where you send a Bitcoin transaction and you're adding liquidity to a pool, right? And then with that, like that real yield, composable yield, it you're not dealing with like a governance token in the middle there in order to receive like the Bitcoin yield, if that makes sense. So it makes it easy to basically earn a Bitcoin yield on your Bitcoin, and then build on top of that in a way where you're still getting a Bitcoin yield on whatever protocol is built on top. But yeah, I think it could happen. Our AMM functionality is built out on Stacks right now, but we're also creating a bridge, between Rootstock and Stacks. So it's, again, I think unclear which one's going to win like long term, but glad we're working together.
Super. We're coming up right up on time here, guys. So again, thank you all for coming out. Again, this is I'm just going to thank everyone from the like how I see you guys on the screen. So thanks again, Robin, CEO and co-founder of Liquidium. Thank you, Dylan from Bitflow, CEO and co-founder of Bitflow. Thank you, Chris from Interlay. Thank you, William from Botanics. And of course, last but not least, thank you, Alejandro from Rootstock. You guys gave a bunch of brilliant ideas. All your technologies are going to be supporting a lot of these, the future Bitcoin ecosystem, not just unicorn ideas, right? But a lot of stuff. So if you guys are attending the hackathon, come check it out. You'll meet a lot of our speakers here during the hackathon. They're here to help you. We're here to help you build, right? Like Dylan said, the more people building on Bitcoin, the more future-proof we become, right? I believe like if we're going to make something future-proof, you know, it is about the distribution, like William was talking about. It is about the ecosystem, and it can only be possible by everyone coming together. So click on the Bitcoin Olympics or Bitcoin Startup Lab icon, sign up, join the Discord. You can meet everyone here, get the videos, check out the documentations, right? And start coding. We still have some time. It starts what? We start accepting code on August 26th, right? And you could keep coding until October 1st. So it's about 5 weeks. So it's a pretty serious hackathon with some really serious prizes. So again, thank you everyone for joining. This show is again brought to you by Bitcoin Startup Lab. We're a top pre-accelerator in the Bitcoin ecosystem that helps you turn your idea into an investment-ready startup. And as we see from Bitflow and Liquidium, that has already proven to be true. And thank you, everyone else, Interlay, Botanics, and Rootstock for joining us. We're looking forward to next time. And let's signing out. Thank you, guys.